Alright guys, so today we've got this Ibanez electric acoustic. It's a, what's it, AEF 18 model. Kind of a cool purple finish. And it was given to me by a buddy of mine for me to restring it and give it a setup. So I'm going to show you guys how to adjust the truss rod on an acoustic guitar. You're not going to need much to do this. Really all you're going to need is main tool for this is going to be an Allen wrench of whatever size you need, so it's good to have, you know, a nice selection of Allen wrenches. You're going to want a string winder like this one, and you're going to want something to protect the strings with. Before you do anything with the truss rod, you need to know if you need to tighten it or loosen it. Otherwise, you could make the problem worse. To know which way you need to turn the truss rod, you need to know which way the neck is bowed. If the neck is bowed too far away from the strings, you're going to need to tighten it. And if it's too close to the strings, you'd need to loosen the neck. Now with this guitar, the neck is too loose, so the strings are too far away from the neck. So what we're going to do is, you're going to look inside the sound hole of your guitar here, and right in there, between the D and G strings, you will see a small hole underneath the bottom of the neck. That's where you're going to put your Allen wrench. Sometimes on other models of guitars, you'll look at, there will be something at the top of the neck, and you'll look there, and there will be usually a little plate right about, you know, here in between the strings. It'll usually say like maybe a model name, or something will probably be engraved on it, or at least it'll be separate from the rest of the headstock, and it'll be screwed in either with two holes like at the top and bottom, or one on each side and then one on top. So if that's there, you'll just unscrew that, and then that hole will be right there in the nut. Unless there is already something sticking out that looks like it needs a 1/4 inch nut driver, or a nut driver of some size. Most of the ones I've seen have been a 1/4 inch. But you are going to do the same thing, just with the 1/4 inch or whatever nut driver as you would with an Allen wrench. So you're ready. You found out what's going on with your truss rod, whether it's too tight or too loose, and you're ready to do the work. Your Allen wrenches or nut driver are going to be effectively harder and stronger than your strings, so you're going to want to find a way to protect your strings so you don't bash them up and dent them and make their life a lot shorter. So what I do is I just take two pretty thin pieces of cardboard like this. I just ripped these off of wrapping from a couple sheets of no-slip sandpaper that I have, and I fold them, and then I'll take the edge, like you're going to want to use one when it's really flat on the edge like that's the edge of the wrapping. I take that and then just rest it over the top of the string, and then push it all the way up to the neck. That way, right where the truss rod port is, will be protected. Then you just do the same thing on the string right next to that and push it all the way up. That way the strings are protected all the way up to the neck, and your Allen wrench or nut driver won't scratch up and dent your strings. Alright, now we're on the last step. This is just actually working on the truss rod. So you're going to want to take a look at the port, figure out what size Allen wrench to use, because you don't want to use one that's too big because it won't go in right, or you don't want to use one that's too small because it could potentially strip out the truss rod port, or it might just be too small to even turn it. This one is a 5mm truss rod port. So we've got our 5mm Allen wrench here. This one's ball-ended. This one does not need a ball-ended Allen wrench, but if you're adjusting a Martin & Company guitar, you will need ball end. And most Martins, well actually I think every Martin I've seen has used a 5mm ball-ended Allen wrench, and those are way up in the neck, so you'll have to run that through all the way up and just let the shorter end be what you turn. But on this, the truss rod port is right at the edge of the neck, so we can use the shorter end and turn with the longer end for more leverage to make it a bit easier. So now that we've got our Allen wrench size figured out and we have our strings protected, what you're going to do is, because this one, you're going to lay it on its back like this. This one, because it is a underbow we got on the neck, so it's bowing like that away from the strings, is that we're going to take our Allen wrench pull the strings a bit apart. You're going to want to loosen your strings too. Put it in between the strings like this. Make sure your cardboard pieces don't slip away. And you're going to feel it slide in. Like you'll see that. Like this is how far out, let's see. This is about how far out it'll look when it's not in. And you're going to kind of look around for it, but when you get it, it'll slide in like that. So you know you got it in right. It's not moving anywhere, it's in the strings, your strings are protected by the cardboard. And because it needs to be tightened, you're going to turn it away from you. So long as you have the bass strings up closest to you, you're going to take your Allen wrench and turn it the other way. You're going to want to do about a quarter turn, like that. Take it out. And then you're going to want to look at the neck again, like that. And we're still not there, still underbowed. So, you're going to put it back. And take your Allen wrench again, put it back in the port. Remember, kind of just wiggle it around until you get it in just right. Let's see. And then when it slides in like that, you're going to do another, maybe quarter turn, maybe not even that much. Wiggle it out. Take another look. Maybe what I do is I put my hand over the neck and play a G chord shape, because I feel that's kind of the one that gives you a good idea of all the strings action, because you're pressing strings down on all parts of the neck. And it still feels a bit high to me, and the bow is still noticeable. You're going to want to make the bow non-existent. You want to get the neck as flat as you can, maybe with just the smallest of underbow. And you're going to put your cardboard pieces back up, or whatever you're using. You can also put tape on your Allen wrench. That way you won't always have to do this. But I don't do that because it wouldn't fit in the carrier that I have for them. So we're going to put it back in, wiggle it around until it finds its home, slides in, nice and easy. Another quarter turn. Okay. Take it out. Check the action. I think we're just about there. I'd say this was really underbowed. So I'm gonna give it one more quarter turn, and that ought to do it. Some truss rods are less responsive than others as well. Some you'll notice vast changes with one quarter turn. Others, you'll just have to wrench away at it until it finally happens. But once it gets to the point where it's getting hard to turn, that's where you ought to stop, because if you overdo it, you'll end up breaking the truss rod or cracking the neck, or a myriad of things can go wrong. And I've had people bring guitars to me with broken truss rods that say it needs a setup. In reality, it needs a new truss rod, sometimes even a new neck. So you're just going to keep repeating this until you got it. Like I said, I'm going to give it one more quarter turn, and that ought to do it. Find its home so it slides in. Alright, we're in. Oops, we lost the cardboard, so slide that in and give it one more quarter turn. And that ought to do it. Yep, action looks good, action feels good. So guys, stay tuned for more. This repair took me 20 minutes at most, with the restringing and whatnot. Really quick, really easy, really useful. Because a lot of times when you buy a new guitar, especially if you get one off the internet and get it shipped to you, the truss rod is never adjusted right, when you first get it. And it's just something that takes work. There are other ways to set up an acoustic, to get the action more playable, and you'll see that in the future. So stay tuned for more, and I will catch you guys later. Have a good one.